Well, we've got a very personal story for you today that we would like to share with you. But before we get to that...
Norm, I see you've been to Giant Tiger.
Yep, another t-shirt haul.
Wow.
Led Zeppelin, gotta love that band.
It looks awesome.
Yeah.
Now, if you are new to our channel, we are Tina and Norm, and we talk about all things to do with retirement lifestyle. And we would love you to subscribe to our channel and give us a thumbs up, and that would be awesome.
So we have read some comments about some of our viewers think that we're doing pretty okay financially. You've seen a few of our splashing out on Air Transat club class, etc. What we wanted to share with you is how we arrived at being able to retire early, and it took us 18 years to do it. So we arrived in Canada as new immigrants on February the 12th, 1992, on a particularly chilly day as well.
It was freezing, wasn't it?
The hairs in your nose froze. We'd never experienced that before.
It was so cold.
So we had lived in England all our lives. We'd dreamt about living abroad at some point, and we were able to make it happen with Canada. They very kindly agreed to give us landed immigrant status. So that's how we came to Canada, fully legally, having gone through the whole immigration process in England.
But as we arrived, Norm, we did leave behind lots of things, didn't we? There had been big changes in the properties over there. So when we actually sold our home, we had a lovely 4-bedroom home with car and everything. We did actually lose a lot of money.
The truth,
Yeah.
Tina, was that we were living above our means.
Yes.
And we were using the credit card to bail us out. So when we liquidated everything, the house, the cars, all our possessions, all the electrical items that wouldn't work in Canada, we were left with a grand total of 16,000 Canadian dollars, and that's all the money we had in the world.
Yeah.
To start a new life.
But the good news was that we had paid everything off, hadn't we, Norm? And we cleared everything, and we learned a very big lesson.
We certainly did.
It was going to be going forward for our new life in Canada, wasn't it?
We swore that we would never go into credit card debt ever again.
No.
No. It's just terrible.
Yeah.
And we've never carried a credit card balance since then. And we've been in Canada for, 31 years.
Yeah. Whatever we put on the credit card, we pay off in full as soon as the statement comes, don't we?
So February the 12th, 1992, we're in Ottawa, Canada, plenty of snow on the ground, cold as heck, and we decided we were going to hit the ground running, literally.
Yes.
So I got a job within 5 days of being in Canada. I had my first paycheck within 2 weeks of being in Canada, and I took the easiest job that you could get. I looked in the classifieds. Yes, it was the days of classified.
Yeah.
And in Canada, in the US, they're always looking for car salesmen. I was a salesman, so I just wanted any job just to start an income stream. So I sold cars. I sold Ford, Lincoln, Mercury cars, and that's how we got going.
Yeah. And I remember too, Norm, that to enable you to do that job, we went out and bought our first car in Canada. And I remember we paid $3,500 cash for it. And it was a minivan, wasn't it?
Piece of crap.
Yeah, it was a maroon piece of crap, but it got you to work, didn't it?
It did. It must have been the only 5-speed Dodge minivan with only 2 rows of seats. But anyway, we loved it.
Yeah.
The kids loved it as well. So yeah, I got to be able to go to work, Tina got a job
Yep.
equally as quickly working for Zeller's department store.
Remember that, hey? Talk about a name from the past, Zellers, hey?
So we were prepared to take any
Yeah.
jobs
We
just
were.
to get going
Yeah.
because we knew as we became used to life in Canada, we could upgrade
Yeah.
because we'd had great jobs in England. So we're telling you this story because we had $16,000. That was our total net worth. I was 38, Tina was 36, and within 18 years, we were able to retire comfortably. And so we did that with property.
And also, Norm, I think we should say, in those beginning days, it wasn't all easy. For example, we did have a UK credit card when we came over here, but it wasn't the days of being able to pay credit card bills on the internet like it is now. By the time the statement came, it was too late. So after a couple of months, having that credit card was no good. We couldn't actually get a credit card in Canada, could we? Because we had no credit history.
And the credit history
yeah.
didn't go with you in those days.
No.
It does today.
Yeah, but it didn't then, did it?
No, it didn't.
So we were told to go get a Sears card to build our credit history up. And it wasn't until maybe about 5 or 6 months after we'd been in Canada, we actually managed to persuade Scotiabank, and they gave us a credit card, didn't they?
Yeah,
Yeah.
And that was only
Yeah.
because we had a family
Yeah.
member, a relative, who banked there, and we kind of nudged them into doing that credit card for us. So yeah, we got a credit
Yeah.
card, started building our history. We had salaries coming in. We had to rent for
Yeah.
12 to 18 months. And during that period, we were saving as much as we possibly could.
Yeah.
It was the time of the wealthy barber, and we've talked about that before. David Chilton, the author, and we took his book to heart. So we started saving 10% of our take-home pay, and we had it automatically deducted and sent to a mutual fund.
And I remember, Norm, that after the first month or so, we just didn't even notice that money had gone away.
No.
But it was building our wealth for our future here. So once you get used to living on, you're not spending beyond your means. You just live with what's left, but you've actually paid yourself first. And I think that was probably one of the biggest learning lessons that helped us, wasn't it?
It was.
Yeah.
So we kept about $10,000 of our money that we brought to Canada, and we didn't spend that.
Yeah.
And so as we saved, we were able to get a down payment on a house. So we saw a builder that was building new homes. It had a design. It was a modest home. It's 3-bedroom, detached, on a subdivision. And so that was $135,000. And we managed to be able to come up with a deposit. And we'd had all this money in a bank account called Canada Trust in those days. So we asked them for a mortgage. We said we'd found a house, we're starting a new life. They had $10,000 of our dollars in their account, and they refused. And they refused to give us a credit card as well. So literally across the road from this Canada Trust in Kanata, Ontario, was a Bank of Montreal.
Yeah.
We had no dealings with them whatsoever.
They didn't know us at all, did they? We walked across the street, walked in there, had a meeting with the mortgage person.
Who turned out to be English
yeah.
and a really, really nice lady, Miss Jones, was it?
I can't remember her name, but I do remember that she was so supportive of us. Not only did they agree to give us a mortgage, they gave us a credit card, so we stopped using the other card that we had and we used that. And it was great. That gave us the start to be able to buy the first house, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And along the way, we kept, as you said, we kept subscribing to this, putting money away into the RRSPs and building our future for our family.
So we stayed in that house for 3 years.
Yeah.
And then we'd had an eye on a subdivision. It was pretty luxurious.
It was nice.
And we was hoping to be able to flip the house our first house in Canada,
Yeah.
make some profit, and be able to afford one of these really beautiful homes. Well, what we hadn't realized was that some of these homes were going power of sale because of, we won't get into it, but it was just how they were being financed by the original builder.
Yeah.
So Tina saw a power of sale, and, well, it wasn't. It was actually what Tina had by that time worked for a computer company.
Yeah.
And one of her colleagues who knew us, we lived in the same area, told Tina, hey, the house next door's gone power of sale. They've just
Well,
up and run off in the middle of the night.
They sort of did a runner, didn't they?
They did.
And she said, hey, we know you want to come and live in the neighborhood. Why don't you go and take a look at it? And it was then that we found that after a few phone calls and that it actually had become a power of sale because people had defaulted on not actually one, but defaulted on two mortgages, hadn't they?
So I called up I found out who the lawyer for the lender was. I called them up and said, I'd like to buy the house. How much do you want? So they said a figure, and then I said another figure. And he said,
oh,
we're not negotiating this. The price I told you is the price we want.
We thought we could negotiate with them, didn't we?
And it was such a great price that we bought it.
Yes, we did. And the only thing that we did do from then is that we did take a secured line of credit against the house. So it would enable us to do things that were needed to be done because the house was a power of sale. So things needed to be replaced and things like that, didn't they?
It was a mess inside the house.
Yes.
And so we did most of the work ourselves, replacing floors and all that. It was still a relatively modern home, less than 10 years old.
Yeah.
But it had been trashed by the previous
just hadn't been looked after and
people.
cared for, had it? I remember there was a piano in it, Norm. Do you
There
remember?
was, and we had to have somebody come in and take it away.
Yeah, we actually had to pay them to come and take it away because it was so heavy, the piano, wasn't it?
And it was in a dangerous condition where it could have imploded with the rotten wood and the tight strings. Anyway.
Yeah. So we got our house, didn't we? It was beautiful.
And we very much enjoyed being in Canada. We've loved it. We loved our house that we had there. And then we decided it was time to retire. And our plan was always to sell the house because that was our retirement fund. We had saved retirement funds for both of us.
Yeah. But I think, sorry, I was going to say, Norm, that one thing during that time we had decided to, when we could each year, we would increase the mortgage and we would put that extra 10% in. Do you remember?
Yeah.
And then after a few years, we decided that our plan for retirement, because it was involving selling the house, we decided to stop putting the savings away and just pay that mortgage off as quick as we could, didn't we? So we sort of shifted where our money was going.
So we would increase our mortgage payments and the lump sums that you're allowed to do each year on the anniversary of the mortgage. And instead of putting it into, the stock market wasn't roaring away at that time. So we decided just to keep getting that mortgage paid off. And we paid it off, I think, in 13 years.
I know, it was great, wasn't it?
It was.
We had our own little mortgage burning party.
So why we're telling you all this is that we arrived in a new country with $16,000 and we were able to turn that in 18 years into a sizable lump sum that enabled us to retire while we still have good health.
Yeah.
And we want to encourage all of you, if you're in your 40s and 50s and you haven't been saving or you're just saving a minimal amount, look what we've done.
Yeah.
You can do it too.
Or you really just need to put a plan together. We made our plan. We knew how it was going to happen, as Norm said. We had very little and we had big responsibilities. We had 2 young children and we put them through university.
Yeah.
And you know, it wasn't as if it was just all a bed of roses, was it?
Not at all.
We had to provide for them, and
We've
but-
paid for weddings, we've paid for university,
Yeah.
and we don't regret a moment of that at all.
No, but the whole theory was to create the opportunity that we could then sell the house and enable us, as Norm said, to retire at a nice early age. And as you know, we did sell the house and we moved and we rented. And that was 8 years ago now. We were 58 and 60 when we did that.
That's right.
And it's wonderful, isn't it?
So we hope that everybody's keeping well.
And staying safe.
And until the next time,
Bye-bye.
bye-bye.